not forget that it would be absolutely wrong to call what has happened at Morbi in Gujarat an accident. It is man-made. Some would even say it amounts to culpable homicide. I'm Barkha Dutt, you're with the Mojo story. Our big focus today is on the Prime Minister's visit to Gujarat. The Prime Minister previously getting extremely emotional about that bridge collapse in which officially at least 135 people have now lost their lives. Nearly 40 of them are small children. The Prime Minister has also visited survivors of this colossal catastrophe at the civil hospital. But what has happened is not without the need to ask hard questions of the administration and of the state government. Also, adding to the controversy over who will take the responsibility for what's happened, have been pictures that have emerged in the last 24 hours of that hospital where people were battling for their lives, being given a paint wash, a facelift ahead of the Prime Minister's visit. The opposition, both the Congress and the Aam Aadmi Party, are targeting the government for this, and there are now growing calls for the resignation of the Chief Minister. But as I said, hard questions remain. Why was a company that makes clocks given this contract? Remember, this bridge collapsed just days after it was inaugurated. And yet, other than 9 very sort of junior functionaries, heads have not rolled yet. Will the Prime Minister be taking action? Will there be something that will emerge concretely from his trip to Gujarat? Let's introduce our guests on the program today as we continue to ask hard questions about this catastrophe. Dr. Anshul Avijit of the Congress Party is with us. Good to see you, Anshul. Arati, Jerath, senior journalist, someone who pulls no punches, is with us. Also joining us from the BJP in Gujarat is Satyen Kulabkar. He's a spokesperson of the BJP from Vadodara in Gujarat. Namaskar, Satyen ji. Deepal Trivedi, senior journalist from Gujarat, is with us. She's been tracking this story from the first day. And PKD Nambiar, commentator, columnist, is with us as well. Let me start with you, Satyen ji. सबसे पहले आप ही से पूछती हूँ. एक फीलिंग है कि जो अरेस्ट हुए हैं वो छोटे मोटे लोगों की हुई है, जिसको कहते हैं ना कि बिग फिश तो समुंदर में तैर कर चली गई एंड आपके नेट में जो लोग आए हैं वो बिल्कुल जूनियर लेवल के लोग हैं. उसके ऊपर से जिसको अंग्रेजी में कहते हैं एडिंग इंसल्ट टू इंजरी. मैं आपको कुछ तस्वीरें दिखाना चाहती हूँ. वो तस्वीरें हॉस्पिटल पेंट हो रहा है. कैन वी प्लीज ब्रिंग अप दोस पिक्चर्स? हॉस्पिटल जो है वो पेंट हो रहा है, रात को उसको पेंट किया जा रहा है, विच इज रियली इन अ वे एडिंग इंसल्ट टू इंजरी. आप इसके बारे में सत्यन जी क्या कहेंगे? ये जो देखिए, ये तस्वीरें आप भी देख रहे हैं, आपने भी देखी होंगी. इसकी क्या जरूरत थी? अगर इतना ही ध्यान ब्रिज को दिया जाता तो शायद ये हम इस सिचुएशन में नहीं होते. सत्यन जी,
So I want to send my deepest condolences to the people who have lost their life and wish them, those who have those injured, a very speedy recovery. It's an absolute time of agony and pain for everybody in Gujarat and probably the entire country. This is a time where you feel that yes, there was a gap, and the gap has to be investigated, and that's the reason why SIT has come into picture. The moment SIT gives a report, not only this 8 people or 9 people who have already been taken into custody, anybody who is named across. The anybody here, Barkha, means even the contractors, even the bureaucrat, or even a politician for that instance. Let me take this on a very upfront note in your channel, that anybody who is named in this SIT will be taken for task. There are a lot of questions, and I will not deny with the questions. The reason being is these questions have led to a life of 140 people as of now, which is a very deepening, which is very saddening affair for everybody in the country. And when the level of death, the injuries are of so much of people, the questions are also to be hard answered, and it will be answered in such a way that the people of Gujarat who have got full faith in the party will have a restoration of faith, because the questions has been off and on. Why the bridge was opened so early? Why was a watch company given this? Yes, these are all very valid questions, and we will not shade away from them. We will stand with these questions and we will answer.
Thank you for that. But if I can ask you, do you believe whoever decided to paint that hospital. I'm sure the Prime Minister didn't ask for it. I'm sure the Chief Minister didn't ask for it. जिसने भी ये फैसला लिया कि भाई वहाँ people are fighting for their lives, इतना बड़ा हादसा हो गया and hospital को paint किया जा रहा है. Do you believe that was insensitive? Would you concede that that was really
I have
insensitive to? Yeah.
I have seen the pictures getting painted of the hospital. Again, that's again one of the questions which need to be answered, along with all the questions that we will be answering. The reason being is this is a time where the country has come united. Lot many people from all the political fronts have also joined for the rescue. I am thankful to all of them for that instance, because this is a time where it's a national issue as of now, and people, at the tune of 350 people are living the death and life right now in hospitals. 100 hospital bed has been allotted in Rajkot also. People from NDFR, SDFR, and various deep divers from the Coast Guard have reached the place. After 18th minute of the accident, the rescue has started by various organizations. I am thankful to them as well, because this type of rescue operation done by the localites, I see so many unsung hero faces there working, almost round the clock for saving the people. So that's what the real spirit of helping
So
people
you're
across there in
so, so,
Morbi
so
is seen.
yeah. So you're saying that all of the answers to many questions have to wait for the SIT, including who took this very callous decision to paint the hospital. Now, Dr. Anshul, Avijit, Rahul Gandhi started by saying that this was a moment of mourning. This was not a moment for politics. That was his original statement. It has moved very fast from that to demands for the resignation of the chief minister. Why this sudden movement in your position, in your party's position, Anshul?
No, there is no sudden movement, Barkha. You know what Rahul Gandhi said was in relation to the Bharat Joro Yatra. He's on a particular mission to unite India into some sort of a fraternal sort of brotherhood, do away with hatred. In that particular atmosphere, it is a political yatra, but it does not believe in political point scoring. Right? Not in the spirit of the yatra itself. So you must understand the context in which he's involved. And I think it was rather statesmanlike to say that, listen, I'm here grieving for the dead at the moment. I don't want to say anything political. But that does not mean that the Congress party has abdicated its political responsibility and not asking tough questions to this government about how this happened. I mean, we're all seething with anger since the last couple of days. And we have to ask these kind of questions, that why did such a this tragedy allowed to take place? Why did it happen? And we are continuously asking, there are enough sort of answers in front of us. First of all, the peg of the story is the Prime Minister's visit. What was the Prime Minister doing for 2 days? And the kind of compassion or the empathy which he's supposed to show. Well, yesterday he talked about Mera dil peera se bahut bhara, and then, made some reference to kartavya and karm. And now he made a belated visit in which the hospital is stage managed for his visit. Actually, there are reports coming out that grieving relatives who are outside the hospital in the perimeter were inconsolable. Many of them were actually looking for other sort of people who were missing. They couldn't find them. They were asked to move from the perimeter of the hospital. Fake water coolers were put. The blisters on the walls were removed. A freshly minted, a manicured hospital was there, stage managed for the Prime Minister. I mean, this is exactly how the BJP does it, because it stage manages headlines, and now you have a stage sort of managed visit from the Prime Minister to the hospital. Actually, there are ward members people who are injured, who are asked to move to another ward, as the report showed us, in order to meet the Prime Minister. I mean, what is going on here? This is a tragedy of unspeakable proportions, but all what you have is this kind of a visit. So what does it mean? What does empathy mean by the Prime Minister when he said
But
it?
Dr. Avijit, the thing about politicians visiting sites of tragedy is if they don't come, they are criticized, and if they come, they are criticized, right? At the moment, your precise criticism of the Prime Minister's visit is it's too late, and what else, Anshul?
No. I mean, the Prime Minister it was a belated visit. The Prime Minister was a few steps away. A tragedy of such proportions, the Prime Minister should have rushed immediately. Why didn't he do that? Then the entire visit itself, the stage managed there, the relatives moved out from the perimeter. But then we have to get down to the tough questions that have to be asked of the Gujarat government, of the contracts that were given to this particular company, a watchmaker that suddenly mutated into a company that is handling high, engineering works and infrastructure. How did that suddenly happen? Where were the contracts given? Were they given in Gandhinagar? Were they given in Morbi? I mean, this is this cronyism of a pure and very, very dangerous kind. Remember, we've gone there before. In 2020, there was a ventilator scam in which of a similar nature, in which actually ventilators given to a company known by the then the chief minister of the state. Those ventilators turned out to be nothing but breathing machines. In fact, the Aurangabad bench of the Bombay High Court says, "Well, listen, what have you guys sent us, the Gujarat government? These don't work." All the ventilators sent by Gujarat to other places did not work. The High Court at that time came down heavily on Mr. Nitin Patel, who was
Okay,
then the health minister. Now,
let me step in. You made a number of different points. Let me actually take some of these points around the panel, and we'll come back to you. PKD Nambiar, let's bring you in. Could this have been handled with a lot more sensitivity, a lot more promptness? You have Mr. Kulabkar saying, look, everything will have to be asked and answered, but the special investigative team has to do it. But there is something called empathy, and there is something called callousness. And I do believe that those images of the hospital being painted is terrible messaging. It's insensitive messaging, and it is indefensible messaging as you see desperate people swim through the waters to try and save their lives. What do you think the BJP should be doing or saying at this moment, PKD, that it hasn't done yet?
Well, it's very unfortunate, an incident which the entire country is mourning. There are people who wanted to, there are questions which everybody is looking for. It is not about just the opposition parties, including you and me, and the common man has got a lot of doubts and questions. And these are very relevant questions which definitely we require answers. But is it the right time for asking these questions, or are we expecting these whole answers to come so quickly? That may not be justified, because it only happened just 2 days before this event took place. The whole administration's job is to ensure that, to save the people, and the people who have been
exactly. So should it be wasting its time painting hospitals?
I think that is an insensitive act that may not be required. That's an insensitive act by any means. There may be, these decisions are not taken by somebody on the top level. It may be a very small level or a junior level. Maybe a hospital administration may have taken. So I think that the prime minister, or for that matter a chief minister, I think anybody, even from the point of view of a photo of the way we are now discussing, it is an insensitive act by some people. I think I don't give more point to discuss in that particular stuff. Broader idea is that, yes, everybody is asking that how all these things have happened. Can this be a final accident like this will happen in India? That is the larger point, rather than just talking about that, oh yes, immediately if we don't get a solution, we need to go and arrest the Areva's MD and the chairman. So I think that may not be the right way to look at it. We may have to get into the root cause of it. Is it a man-made, or is it a man-made disaster, or is it there are some other things involved in this particular
I mean, how can it not be man-made? This bridge was just opened. This bridge was just opened.
I'll give you, Barkha, just for your information, I just started my career when I was 20 years in Delhi with a company, one of the largest company in the world. It has a construction company. The D&D which you and me course through, I handled that particular project at that particular age. So I understand how an engineering or a company works. It is not necessary that you award a job to a particular company. It does not mean that that company execute that particular job. They go to an expert, maybe a subcontractor or a contractor.
I get that. I get that. But the buck stops with the company that got the contract.
Absolutely. I'm absolutely
the buck
for that.
stops with the officials who gave their approval, who gave their clearance. We now know that the bridge was opened before the fitness certificate was given. So there is a whole lot of accountability here that needs to be demanded. Hold on, PKD. Deepal, what's the one question that the BJP government in Gujarat needs to answer that it hasn't answered yet?
First of all, the BJP needs to apologize for a couple of things. Number one is, as few people pointed out, about Prime Minister's visit to Morbi. I believe that if he would have visited Morbi yesterday itself, things could have got a little better. People, I'm sure Prime Minister Modi would not have wanted that the hospital staff put the beds out of the premises and the people who are taking treatment are sort of dumped outside just because the hospital needs a new whitewashing done and stuff like that. So it begins from there. I personally believe that if PM Modi would have, who was incidentally in Gujarat, could have flown in to Morbi, number one. And if he would have flown in Morbi, there would have been better arrangement made, because Prime Minister Modi did not flow in. So there were a lot of other ministers who just flew in instead of, we could have the NDRF, we could have other rescue agencies, which could have been flown in. But because Mr. Modi was not there, there was not much organization there. Everything was really chaotic. There was people were in
But isn't
deep
that
pain.
contradictory? Isn't that contradictory? Because actually, if there was paraphernalia rolled out for local leaders, the paraphernalia is always double if the prime minister comes. Unfortunately,
No,
our subculture is like this in our country.
No, I think if PM Modi, in the past, I've seen that once he comes and it's his entourage that goes on, the rest follow and things start falling in place. Instead of that, it took 24 hours here just because everyone wanted to repair that window pane or get that bed repaired or whitewash the wall or airflow someone who really did not even required to be at the venue. So all these things that happened would not have happened, is what I believe.
I before I come to Arati, I just want Satyen ji to come in on this point that there should be an apology. At least, Satyen ji, how do you respond to everything you've heard so far? Even on the painting, you're hesitating to say ye jo hua galat hua. No one is suggesting कि गुजरात गवर्नमेंट की लेवल पे सीएम ने ऑर्डर किया. Obviously, an overeager, nervous hospital staff has done it, but it has compromised the patients, and it's very insensitive.
That's what I told you. Okay, there are so many questions which are to be answered, and they have to be answered. But as very rightly said, that the priority as of now is to understand that there are so many people who require immediate, urgent, and very much detailed medical care. And based on this medical care, once this is taken care of, once the people still who are missing are found, all the questions will be answered in phase wise. We will not shade away from a single question from here, including the hospital pics that you people are showing. This will be answered. The questions which have come across of the company which is given the contract, the way it has operated, the way it has governed, who else was responsible, every single question, even if you can just brush out the meetings that Narendra Bhai just had, he also encouraged the same stuff, that not a single person should intervene in the finding of the facts, one thing, and nobody should be spared because of any lacuna in the system. So that will be taken care of. Right now, the first priority for us is to ensure that the people are given proper medical care. The people who are not found are found with help of the deep divers from the Coast Guard. Various other agencies have started since 48 hours, working almost 24/7 by now. So this becomes a priority for us.
Let me bring in Arati now. Arati, this is the moment where, as I said, there should not be politics, but there is always politics attached to everything that happens in India. This is also a month or so away from the elections in Gujarat. And the BJP government naturally is right now on the defensive. Now, Satyen ji is taking the position that no one will be spared, but we need the investigation to happen. How do you see everything that is unfolded so far? Heads haven't rolled, and I think what I'm understanding is no heads will roll till after this SIT submits its report.
Barkha, I mean, obviously, to get to the bottom of it, you need a thorough investigation, and that investigation will take its time. I hope they have a time-bound investigation so that the report comes out as soon as possible and doesn't meander for months and months. That's number one. Number two, I think there could have been much more empathy shown by the Prime Minister and other BJP leaders, just in terms of touchy-feely kind of gestures. There were these relatives waiting outside for news of, their the patients inside. Maybe, the Prime Minister or the Chief Minister or some senior BJP leaders could have gone outside, talked to them. Maybe they could have also given a dressing down to the hospital authorities about this whole painting, this paint job that was done overnight to dress up the hospital for the Prime Minister. I mean, not a word has been mentioned by any senior leader on this completely
I mean,
unnecessary
Arti, as
waste
far
of
as the
energy.
Prime Minister did meet the families. In fact, we have those pictures. Those are, of course, meeting officials.
Okay.
But
I did not know that, but I think that
there
certainly,
you can see
uh,
those pictures there, Arti.
yeah,
Those are some of the relatives. But I think the point you're making is it was engulfed by officialdom. I think the
that's
point
right.
that you're trying to make is more that. But he
That's
did
right.
meet
That's right.
with
And
yeah.
I do feel that, certainly, if not the Prime Minister himself, the Chief Minister or some other senior, officials could have given the hospital authorities a dressing down, on this whole thing. And please tell me that it's not that nobody was aware that all this was happening. How come nobody rushed at that point to stop it, knowing how insensitive it looked? Secondly, while whether the top brass of Oreva is involved in this or not, I mean, after all, ultimately, when that tragedy happened in the cinema hall in Delhi, you remember, and ultimately they did arrest the Anshul brothers and put them behind bars. It took a long time and a lot of pressure, but they did do it. But anyway, that's another point. The point is that why are we not talking about the neglect shown by the municipal corporation? I mean, somebody in the municipal corporation has been quoted in the media as saying that we didn't even know that the bridge had been opened. I
Yeah.
mean, we didn't know that the bridge had been opened, for
Well, we have
God's
the
sake.
we have
Are
this.
you not monitoring what's going on in the city?
I just
Are
want
you
to.
not aware? When so many people are crowding there, are you going to leave it to just ticket collectors and some security officials? Or are you going to have the police also on duty to make sure that the bridge, that there is some crowd
I
control?
I think what I'm
I mean,
hearing from you, I think what I'm hearing from you is that certain amount of public reprimand from the highest level was needed so that people could hear it. We have this tweet from the Prime Minister just minutes ago. Went to Morbi, which witnessed the horrific bridge mishap, met the bereaved families and extended condolences. So, Arti, I was making that point that he did meet with the families.
yes, absolutely. And I was wrong about that.
Yeah,
I did not
yeah.
know about it. Yeah.
Visited the site of the tragedy and went to the hospital where the injured are recovering. Also met those involved in rescue ops and chaired a review meeting. Now, Anshul, let's bring you in at this point. You've heard the BJP's response. It's not, Satyenji is not being aggressive and saying we did everything right. He's saying there are serious questions to be asked. We're not shying away from the answers. At this moment specifically, what would you like them to do?
No. First of all, who's asking the serious questions?
The SIT,
there is no
the SIT, according
exactly
to them.
might no. I was coming to that. It was rhetorical. What
Yeah.
I'm saying is that there is a trust, and the Gujarat government is a contradiction in terms. We want a judicial probe into the matter by a sitting judge. That is the first thing, and it has to be time bound. Because the FIRs, the way the FIRs have been, a couple of hapless guys have been put. A ticket collector, a few guards. It just shows the way how such a kind of thing may be. I'm not preempting any kind of conclusion of what the SIT might have. It may be completely impartial, but there is a huge trust deficit when it comes to this government. So we want a judicial probe right now by a sitting judge. The other big question that few people have asked is, what was the administration doing? I mean, you have such a large gathering.
I mean, Arti just raised exactly that question.
Yeah, police. What were the police doing? You've got the guards who were looking after that bridge, but what's the police administration doing there to manage the crowds? I mean, regardless of the fact that clearance was given, fitness certificates was not given. So the Morbi municipality has a lot to answer for. Where was the contract signed in Gandhinagar or here? All these questions will come out in any kind of probe. Hopefully they will. But what was the administration doing? This complete laxity on the part of the administration, complete abdication of responsibility. They have to answer for that. And the larger, bigger question that one must ask is, the true face, I think, that we've been asking all along is the true face of this, what we call the Gujarat model of development, right? Which we have always said was perverse, was distorted, was skewed. has come to the fore in this, because there is yet another what seems to be a suspected case of cronyism and the kind of savage capitalism in which lives can be
Okay,
sacrificed
let me
for
bring
sheer
in PKD to
profiteering.
respond to that. I think the giving of the contract will of course raise all sorts of questions. The clockmaker company that's given a contract without any known expertise, Mr. Nambiar, in actually setting up this bridge. That's the allusion to the cronyism that Anshul is making. Go ahead. You were earlier making the point that there are multiple players involved in the execution of such a project, and I was making the point that the buck has to stop with those who sign off, give the approval, and those who then get the contract to execute it.
There is no doubt. I think when such kind of a large, big incident take place and so many people die, a large amount of questions will come. It's not only, as I said, not only from an opposition, from a common people. So I think all these questions require a strong answers, convincing answers to all those people, to every individual in that way. As far as that is concerned, I am very clear and there is no doubt. But the only thing what we are doing is that we are jumping the gun a little faster, that there should be some kind of a time we should give. And the Prime Minister was there in Gujarat during that time. And the first time in the history, I would say, that the Chief Minister has accepted that the government of Gujarat takes the responsibility of such a big accident. So that itself gives a feeling that yes, the government is very, very serious about this whole incident. And then to one of my co-panelists, I can only say this is not a situation wherein everything happens in such kind of an incident, everything happens fall in place as the way we wanted. It was an accident. Hundreds of people have died. In such kind of a place, there are supposed to have more and more chaos, and which is very, very normal in any particular case. And Barkha, that during the COVID time, the amount of travel you may have done, nobody else has done. So that situations like this, crisis, are always have some kind of an issues on the at the ground level, but eventually it is being handled so far in the fastest and as quickly as possible. People have done it.
Okay, let me now get the others to come in. Thanks, Pikiti. I know you need to leave a little earlier today.
Yeah.
Thank you very much. Arati, I want to bring in you and Deepal and then take last comments from the BJP and the Congress. Arati, the Prime Minister, quite low-key, I was actually expecting a kind of public repudiation of what had happened, and that hasn't happened. Now, maybe it'll happen behind the scenes. We don't know. We don't know how this day will end. Are you surprised by that?
Yes, I mean, that's the point I was trying to make. I slipped up. I didn't know that he had met the family members, and it's very good that he went and met the family members. But I did expect the Prime Minister, and if not the Prime Minister, then through the Prime Minister, through the Chief Minister or some senior leaders of the BJP, to come out much more strongly about what a terrible tragedy this has been, and to there should have been some sort of public reprimand of the administration, of the hospital authorities, of the police, and I think some statements saying that their role will also be investigated. Yes, they have set up an SIT and all the rest of it, and the full mandate will be, sort of spelt out when the terms of reference are framed. But there could have been some kind of public reprimand and some mention of the huge administrative failure, both in terms of the municipal corporation's role and the police role.
Yeah,
there were more than 500 people there, Barkha. The cops didn't know that. What were they doing? Were they sleeping on the job?
And the worst part was to try and blame the people. Oh, you were shaking the bridge, you were jumping up and down. And honestly, the bridge. Why was the crowd allowed if the bridge was so fragile and with the movement of people it would collapse?
So that's what I'm saying. That's the kind of that's what I expected to hear from
the Prime Minister
himself, but at least others around him.
Deepal, where does the buck stop according to you?
When it comes to Gujarat, I think the buck does not stop anywhere. I might sound slightly pessimist in this. In this particular case, I was watching Prime Minister Modi and his visit to the hospital and all. I saw a gentleman whom I had met yesterday at Morbi, and he was very confident. This gentleman, his name is Sandeep Sijala. He is the chief at Morbi municipality, the first one. Like, I thought I had a big scoop yesterday when he told me that, look, all the fault lies with this Oreva company, which went ahead and started this, opened up the bridge without taking the fitness certificate from us. So I'd asked him that, okay, they operated the bridge for 4 days. It collapsed on the 5th day. What did you do about it? He had no answers. But today I saw him, all of them looked very nice, happy, friendly. It was just the people who appeared to be so fatigued and hopeless. It is just that yesterday 2 log aur aa gaye, aaj 2 aa gaye, fir kal 4 aayenge, this tragedy tourism thing. I don't think anyone is happy or anyone got some sense of empowerment with Prime Minister Modi's visit to Morbi today. This is what I personally feel. And I also do not see where is this going to lead to. Just a few weeks back, we had people dying of hooch in Gujarat after consuming illicit liquor. They are roaming free.
Right.
Like
So you are cynical. You don't think responsibility will be pinned. But I do need to give Satyenji the last word. But Anshul, if there's one pointed question you'd like to put to the BJP at this moment, in the immediate.
Well, I mean, I share that kind of cynicism. I don't think we're going to get the answers. And the municipality has already, the Gujarat government has already distanced itself from the municipality of Morbi by the comments which are coming out from Mr. Nitin Patel and others. The other question about, why the Prime Minister is, as Arati said, a little low-key. I think the words that he said in regard to Kolkata, that this is not an act of God, this is an act of fraud. When a similar bridge came down in Kolkata in 2016, is coming back to haunt him. Maybe that's the reason why he's so low-key. Yes, I think there should have been more shows of compassion, of empathy, of humanity. I mean, what this government has been critiqued of. I mean, the other things will take its toll. Now the event, this terrible thing has happened. Of course, you'll be counting the bodies and the mourning and the tragedy and the aftermath. And then, of course, the SIT or what have you will take place. But yeah, where is that empathy? Where's that humanity? I mean, that's what we want to keep asking this government, and what will change for the future, of course.
Satyenji, at prima facie, who do you hold responsible? Do you hold the Oreva company responsible? Do you hold the municipal corporation responsible? Do you hold the police responsible? Do you hold those in your government who decided to give the contract to Oreva responsible? Who do you hold responsible?
These questions are answered because these are the questions which are lying there. We will not deny, as what I said. As of now, pinpointing XYZ will not be a right stuff to to take up. Yes, there will be a time where it will be a time-bound investigation that will happen. No cynicals will be there in the system. No people who feel that they will be running away or shading away their responsibility and going away from the place will happen. This is what I can assure you at this point of time.
All right, we'll leave it there. There are many more questions and there are answers at this point. There's a lot of cynicism, a lot of grieving. I again underline the fact that nearly 40 of those who died were little children. Please think of the desperation those people must have felt, those who stood on the bridge, those who jumped in, those who tried to swim to the shore but didn't make it. Entire families wiped out. This was not a natural calamity and this was not an accident, and that is what is important to underline here. Deepal, Arati, Anshul and Satyen, thank you so much, and to our audience, thank you as ever for watching. See you tomorrow. Take care.
It's great to see you here. Thank you for watching our work. If you haven't subscribed yet, don't forget to click the bell icon and subscribe to Machchhu Story and support independent, robust journalism.